Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about video games. Today, I want to talk about the Dark Souls games. This is a series that, until recently, has never really held much of an appeal for me. Being someone who plays a lot of video games and is online enough, it was impossible to escape the Dark Souls zeitgeist, but most of the discussion was about the difficulties of the game and getting good, and that never really held much appeal to me. I do play my share of difficult games, but the difficulty is never really the draw, and the idea that I would die and die again just didn't make it seem like a series I wanted to play. I did at one point try out Dark Souls 1 back on the Xbox 360, but after getting to Firelink Shrine, I went down the wrong path, got murdered by a bunch of skeletons, promptly turned off the game, and never returned to it until many years later. However, in the past year or so, I decided to go and give them another shot. I played through the Dark Souls trilogy as well as Elden Ring, which only somewhat fits into this conversation, and it's given me a new appreciation for them. So this video is about things Dark Souls has taught me, both about the games and how to look at them, and even a few things about myself. But before we get to what those things are, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. If you ever get stuck trying to figure out what to make for dinner like I do, HelloFresh can help make your mealtime simple. They deliver all the fresh ingredients and instructions you need right to your door, so you can cook and enjoy delicious meals in the most stress-free way possible. You can select your weekly recipes, schedule deliveries at your convenience, and pause or cancel your subscription at any time. There are so many great recipes to choose from each week, including ones that are vegetarian, calorie smart, or quick and easy. This week, I'm really looking forward to trying the pesto cheese tortellini. There's nothing more comforting than a big bowl of cheesy pasta as the days are getting colder. Try HelloFresh using my code CANNOTBETAMED and you can get up to 20 meals for free. So when I really got into Dark Souls, I started with Dark Souls 3, then played 1, then finally 2, and something that I learned quite a few hours later than I should have is that you have to read the item descriptions. I knew that the story and the lore in this game was very vague, and honestly, I wasn't all that interested in it. Even though I really like story-heavy, character-heavy games, I find that the more action-y a game gets, the less I am inclined to read any text on screen, and I really just want to smash the buttons. Unfortunately, this meant that I missed a lot in my first dozen or so hours playing the game. I didn't realize that you could burn bone shards in order to make your Estus flasks stronger. I didn't know what an ember did, and that would increase my health by quite a bit and allow me to summon NPCs to help me out with boss fights. I didn't realize I could use boss souls to give me more souls for leveling up until I had at least a half a dozen of them in my inventory. There are a lot of mechanics in this game, and it's very easy to miss out on some of them if you don't read. The next thing I learned is that when I'm having trouble with the game, the issue isn't that I'm bad, the issue is I'm dumb, and I'm not sure if that's better or worse. But when I had the most difficulty with the game, it wasn't generally because it was too hard, it was because I was being stubborn and was unwilling to learn. My first lesson learned about reading plays into this. Reading would have made everything easier from the jump and gave me advantages I didn't end up having. Extra health would have been nice. I went a long time without consuming any of the souls that drop as items. In Elden Ring, I didn't even get the Ashes summoning bell until after I finished Stormvale Castle because I wasn't paying attention to what any NPC told me. The biggest thing, though, is that I just refuse to be patient. Dark Souls is a game about observing enemy patterns, learning when there's an opening, and getting a hit or two in. But this just isn't my thing. When I see an opening, I don't want to get one hit in, I want to get in 4, and that's usually at least 2 too many. And I knew this, but kept thinking, well, maybe next time it'll work. The game really showed me how stubborn and stuck in my ways I can be. Once I got a weapon I liked, I'd stick to it like glue. Even when I could see how helpful ranged attacks would be in a lot of situations, it took me hours before I even considered equipping a crossbow. I also almost always had a shield equipped, but rarely ever used it. This is an issue I haven't completely learned. Being impatient and refusing to learn from my mistakes is something that still happens, but at least I know that this issue is more of a mental one as opposed to a lack of reaction time or just being bad at the game. I don't think enough people really sell how hilarious and absurd the Dark Souls games can be. It's true, these games and the worlds they present are morose, full of death and decay and incredible challenges. However, if you look at things the right way, there's also a lot of comedy. My own deaths can be hilarious. There's just something absurd about getting all prepared for a boss fight, buffing yourself up, using your consumables, running in and just getting one shot. Or rolling off an edge. I really love the feeling in these games that I'm always in danger of falling off a cliff. I didn't do it often, but when I did, I always ended up laughing about it. At least in Dark Souls 3. In Dark Souls 1, enemies yeeted me off cliffs a lot, and it got less amusing. I've seen a lot of people get their first Taurus demon fight by having it fall off the bridge, sometimes with the player, and it is peak comedy. I wasn't lucky enough to have this happen, but I would have laughed so hard if I did. When I was fighting Dragon Slayer armor and it destroyed the railings of a bridge and knocked me right off it, I laughed a lot. In Elden Ring, I remember psyching myself up for Malekith, running past the mounted dude, through the fog wall, then immediately rolling off the edge of the world. Hilarious. The ability to laugh at your own misfortune will certainly make the Dark Souls games more enjoyable. Just a reminder that this video was sponsored by HelloFresh. Use my code CannotBeTamed and get up to 20 stress-free and delicious meals for free. I love a character creator in-game, and when they're offered to me, I spend a lot of time with them making a character that I enjoy looking at. I like pretty things. In Dark Souls, it's really hard to be pretty, and that's okay. No matter what preset I tried or what sliders I moved, my Souls characters all ended up looking like Monster Factory rejects. May as well lean into it. You're gonna be zombified for most of the time anyway, especially when you don't use your embers or humanity enough. Armor, also generally ugly. I don't understand the whole fashion Souls thing. In fact, when Elden Ring came along and it was possible to make attractive characters, it just felt wrong. I made sure that mine looked like a waxy piece of uncooked chicken. Get good is a phrase you'll see a lot when reading or talking about the Dark Souls games, and it always seemed like a strange and off-putting thing, aimed at making players who weren't succeeding feel bad about their abilities. But as I played the game, I began to have a different understanding of what the term means. It doesn't mean press the buttons better or magically get faster reaction times. It means learn, take advantage of weaknesses, use every advantage the game gives you. There are some special sorts out there who think your way of playing isn't valid unless you're playing through the whole game at level 10 while naked and wielding only a club. But those people display an astounding lack of media literacy if they think that's the only valid way to play. The game offers you help for a reason. Use it. Summon help for boss fights, whether it's NPCs or real players. Use every soul you get your grubby hands on to overlevel things. Get an enemy stuck in a doorway and pelt at them with arrows. Kite enemies into each other so they fight amongst themselves. Lure things into traps that were meant for you. These are all valid ways of killing things. There is also an incredibly large and dedicated Dark Souls community that you can take advantage of. Use them to find exploits and weaknesses whenever you need help in the game. You don't have to do this alone. Think about it. You're playing a hopeless wretch in a world stuck in a never-ending cycle of misery, and you're fighting against giants and dragons. Why on earth would you fight fair? If you're someone who plays the game naked, never leveling up, and with a DDR pad as a controller, congratulations. I'm very proud of you. But for everyone else, beginners especially, get good by using every advantage that's available to you. Part of the reason I avoided the Souls game for so long was how much of the discussion about them was dedicated to the difficulty and the number of options available to you in your character build, two things which weren't particularly of interest to me. However, when I started to play, what kept me playing was the world and level design. This is a game with so many shortcuts to open, and as a Metroidvania lover, this just thrilled me. Souls games can be difficult. It can be frustrating, working your way through a hard area for the first or second or third time, wondering when you'll reach the next bonfire and be able to heal and restore your health flasks. Then, you open a shortcut, which means getting here next time will be so much easier. Unlocking doors, reaching levers to open gates, these things are just as satisfying to me as taking down a difficult boss. In Dark Souls 1, all the areas wind around Firelink Shrine in an ingenious way, linking everything together, at least for the first half of the game. In Dark Souls 3, though you're mostly fast traveling between points, anytime you're in a place with a good view, you can see all the areas around you and how they connect. I loved getting to a gorgeous vista and looking around and recognizing areas I had visited before and getting a glimpse of ones I haven't been to yet. This just makes the world feel real. Even enemy placement within areas is brilliant. They'll be hiding in corners, waiting to push you off ledges, and make you laugh at your own foolishness. They'll drop from ledges, attack from above, ambush you. It taught me to always be alert, and that listening to podcasts instead of the game sound might be a bad idea. Yes, Dark Souls combat is fun and challenging, but for me, exploring the world and finding all of its shortcuts and secrets was even more of a draw. Lastly, Dark Souls taught me that using my nice, collectible, limited edition controllers to play is a bad idea. The right bumper just isn't meant to be pushed as much as Dark Souls wants you to push it. I got this beautiful Forza controller around the same time I started my quest with the Dark Souls games, and within a couple months, the right bumper had just turned to mush. It's really hard to press it. I can't play Dark Souls games with it anymore. So, for this reason, also if you're someone who tends to lose your temper and take it out on controllers, use your basic, replaceable Xbox controllers and not your nice ones. So those are some of the things I've learned from the Dark Souls games. I'm not really sure if I have a purpose in this video, but maybe if you're like me in the past and could never really get into these games, it'll make you look at them in a little bit of a different light and see more appeal to them other than dying and dying again. If you love the series, or if you haven't been able to get into it yourself and have learned something from it, leave me a comment and let me know what it is. If you want to see more, check out one of my other videos here. I have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.